Hello my lovelies and welcome to my channel WYRD is the New Black. My name is Kat and this is a pick a card reading based on looking into a relationship dynamic. It is geared mainly around love, but if you want to make it fit, then you can see how you go with one of the stacks if you're asking about a platonic situation. Anyway, take your time and as ever resonate towards the different stacks. We have the elephant up here, the earthenware pot in the middle, and the colourful bottle at the end. So take your time and I'll see you on the other side. Hello my lovelies, to those that chose the elephant. Isn't it beautiful? This is hand painted. It's made of paper mache, right? Hand painted in India, and the detail is insane. This is what people do on the side of the roads and it blows my mind. The craftsmanship of that country is unparalleled. Anyway, before I start banging on about India and how incredible it is, this is also, I want to say, a fine and detailed energetic that is coming between the two of you. And the elephant's interesting because now I'm reading it and it feels like memory. It's got something to do with memories, and yeah, let's see how it weaves in. But there's this kind of elaborate energy, this detail coming through with this reading. It is beautiful, this energy, as it's hitting me, and it's hitting me well and truly in the heart space. It's making me feel like slightly vulnerable and a bit emotional, but at the same time I'm feeling like it was that there's been this catapulting. Oh, how do I get into this? It's because I'm now in the heart space. I'm finding it really hard to kind of actually have my brain function. Okay, Ace of Bows. We'll start at the beginning. So the Ace of Bows here, which is the spark of life, is the Ace of Wands, and for me it's also like the Ace of Swords combined, because the arrows in this deck is the air energies. So this is like fire and air, and you can see that it's making this little wisp of smoke. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's making this wisp of smoke in this card. And so this kind of spark has ignited, and then boom, like we've got this heart on fire in between the masculine and feminine in the Two of Cups, the Two of Vessels, which in this deck says attraction. So this is strong attraction, and it's like a new or a fresh energy, fresh start, fresh new person. It just very, it feels like a sudden realization, but it also feels like it's not one of those things where it's like boom kind of energy is the feeling. It's one of those things where it's like gradual, and then you're like, oh my God, there's a fire in the forest. It's the feeling coming through. Oh my God, there's a fire in the forest, run. It's the sensation that's coming through here, because the fire is in the heart space, the fire is in an emotional capacity, and I feel like that is very triggering on both sides here, because I feel like, so what Spirit is saying is that this is like a shared energy between you. So all of this belongs to both of you, energetically speaking, and that's how they want you to hear this. They don't want to hear you sitting in the masculine and listen to about the feminine, or vice versa. They want you to be like, this is my masculine and feminine energy having a conversation is what they're saying, is the feeling, because it feels very shared. And this, yeah, anyway, let me get into it. So what we've got in the background of this Five of Stones here is a bolt of lightning, and it's giving me tower energy. So it's making me feel like there have been previous towers, previous sort of sudden or difficult experiences. It's been a struggle. We've got the 8 of arrows over here, and the struggle has been with endurance. The 5 of stones says endurance. And having to travel through the shadow space, because this is so illuminated, that this energy, that it's lit up, and immediately that makes the shadows sharper, right? And I think there's been a recognition that in order to be able to claim any level of new beginning, there has to be a very clear objective to where you're going to go with that, and how you're going to approach that. And because this is not small energy, it's packed with potential, but I think that's as far as it's gone. So this is difficult on multiple levels, because the energy is what's speaking here, rather than your experience with this person, or your experience with this space, with this person, this new space, with this person, whatever. But there's something very fresh with the ace about this emotional expression. And I'm seeing like a fountain. Spirit's showing me a fountain. So it's like coming from the earth, this energy. And it's kind of feeling like it's kicked you backwards. And the feminine energy has gone into anxiety. The 9 of arrows. Anxiety. And this card looks like pretty dejected as well. It says dedication. So I feel like it's really played havoc in the mind space. It's been something that there's been a lot of thinking in the internal energy, the feminine energy. And I don't think that those thoughts have been shared, or not the ace of arrows, not the truth. I think all the rest of these swords are kind of not the truth. And she's clinging to this one truth and trying not to, break her brain too much with this. But I think it's been a real struggle. And the 8 of arrows is all about being tied up in the head as well here. So it's about trying to lead with rational energy, and then finding that's immediately not going to work in this situation, and having to fall back on the priestess, the seer. So having to fall back on auricular or intuitive energy, and just try very hard to lead with the intuitive energy rather than to lead with the mind, and all of these different unlocked emotions that have triggered previous tower spaces. So I can hear Merlin snoring in the background. Sorry, it's a little bit distracting. He's like, pussycat snores. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of cerebral activity and in the feminine energy, a lot of overthinking, a lot of mind, a lot of air, a lot of cleverness. And again, this is shared energy, right? So this is applicable to the masculine too. It may well have been that the masculine also felt the anxiety, but I think that would have come after the instinct, which is what's coming up really strongly in the masculine space. So this is like fiery over here in the masculine space. We've got the Knight of Bows, which is the fox, the 4 of Bows, celebration, and the 5 of Stones, endurance, which, although this is an earth card, we have a fire in it. We have a small fire in it there. So this strong, fiery, dynamic energy here. Creative, I want to say that as well. Imaginative, I also feel the need to say, because of all that, the kind of intellectual nature as well. So again, air and fire are meeting in this alchemical magical mix here. And that has triggered emotional energy, which is at the heart of the situation. But your responses to that emotional energy are not emotional. They are rational and instinctual. So this is like, it's percolating. It's like a sense that you're percolating in the feminine energy and in the masculine energy too. But in the feminine energy, we're percolating in a very cerebral manner, or in a way that, you know, you bombard yourself with questions, or why this, why that, or, and then I'm hearing self-criticism, self-doubt, self-annihilation slightly. But then trying to rational and factor in and make logical decisions, and that's not how energy works. And you know that. You know that. You both do, because this is the priestess, and the priestess knows that. So there's been some kind of conflict between the intuition and the thinking part of your response. And I feel like it has been a struggle, but this has lessened it. You've been dedicated to that arrow of truth, even if it was very difficult to see. Can't see the wood for the trees is what I'm getting with these trees in the back of all of these cards. And to try and work out how you feel about it, because, and again, on the masculine side, I think that might also be the case, trying to work out how you feel about it, because that's the heartfelt vulnerability of the energy of this is it's nervous, it's shaky, but it's also like excited and impulsive, potentially impulsive with the Knight of Bows. So that the masculine response is to like jump in, probably physically, to the situation. But also I feel that this may have been held back. They may have jumped in physically to a different one, is what I'm getting with the Four of Bows. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here, all right? It's the Four of Bows. Don't take it if it doesn't resonate. Now, Four of Bows is about celebration and union. And in fact, this card does say celebration. And it's usually the, the sacred union. And this is very much a soul connective energy. I mean, let's just make that abundantly clear. This is the kind of energy that occurs when, Spirit says this would be perfect for them both to deal with their individual shadow elements. Let's make it happen. So this other shadow element, which again, it is not entirely belonging to a masculine, but it belongs to the masculine space, is impulsive, adventurous, creative is what I'm getting, willing to be spontaneous, willing to take risks, but also driven by lust at times, driven by competitive energy, or a sense of like needing to win in some capacity, or pride as well, strong in the Knight of Bows. So again, this is shared energy. Take it when it resonates. In terms of wanting to like maybe jump straight in, but because this Tower energy suggests that may have been a situation that has occurred in the past, that this time it didn't occur because there may have been a knee-jerk response from the masculine space that said, right, well, I'll keep my options open. I don't want to be in a commitment. I'll keep my options open. The Knight of Bows does not like to be tied down. They're not the king. They don't understand yet that it's not that they have to claim their own sense of freedom with what do I want to say? With tapping into the heart's desire. So the King of Wands taps into the heart's desire and leads with the heart energy, because they have control of the fire, because they are like grounded, and there is that grounding energy, and there is this grounded energy in the feminine energy here, this earthy rooted energy that's going on here too. And again, this is like a counterbalancing. It works really well as a balancing out. So I think what has happened is there's been this kind of knee-jerk response. Well, that fine, okay, I might as well go and play the field, because I don't know, I don't want to be I don't want a serious thing, or I just want something gratifying, like physically gratifying. And yeah, I do fancy this person, but I'm not looking for anything that isn't fun right now. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's where this energy is at. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is almost like what Spirit is saying. This is the Five of Stones here is almost like the hangover. And it's pretty damn miserable, the hangover here, from the energy of, because this is a lot of 5-4s. I'm hearing burnout as well. So this could have been just a lot of socializing, a lot of activity, or just being constantly on the go is what I'm hearing. It's almost like, you know, it's an inspirational energy that the masculine side has taken from this experience, but it's also impatient and proud and impulsive and, like, you know, red-blooded is what I'm feeling to say. And so now there has to be this waiting game where it's a struggle or a slog on the feminine side. It's like, and that could be monotony or boredom, or you know, just day to day, and again a sense of isolation, potentially on both sides here. But I think on the masculine side, or, you know, they may still be going out or socializing, or, and again, switch this if it resonates for you. But still there's this sense of like being the odd one out, or being, and again, it's shared energy, like being the odd one out, or being too different, or too, or not fitting in the way that society expects you to fit in. And I feel like this masculine, it's almost like this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just go out and party and have fun, but it's not really fun if that's not actually your heart's desire. If actually what your heart desires is the union, and is the new beginning, is something that has intuition integral to it, is it's this deep subconscious energetic. And also the awareness, I feel here, of both parties to know that their remit is their remit, and that they've got to deal with their remit in their own way, on their own, in order to come back round to potentially another new beginning. Is what I'm getting. And then again, I can't tell you whether it won't happen again with different shadow elements, or that it'll be fine. And I'm not here to tell you that with this reading, is what Spirit is saying, because they want you to understand what's happening and work on all of these different areas of shadow. Like, fess up to yourself if you've been a little bit prideful over something, or you've thought, oh well, you know, sod it, I'll go and find something different, like a temporary hookup is all I'm after right now, kind of thing. Or if you've, you know, just stressed out and worried and felt that you know, couldn't make a move or a decision or a communication or an active choice in some kind of situation, because maybe you feel like you have to stay dark, or that there is this, you know, your intuition is saying, don't engage yet, or don't, I don't know. But I feel like your intuition will tell you exactly when to engage and how to engage, and it will bring the words through that you need to come through. But that can't happen until all of this anxiety or vulnerability or sense of feeling not enough is also what's coming through, not worthy of the other, or and that could be I don't have enough stuff, or I don't have enough excitement, or I don't have, I don't know, whatever it is. There's this sense of like feeling lacking, or not feeling, of rejecting yourself before. It's kind of failing yourself before you begun is what I'm feeling to say with that. Failing yourself before you've begun in this situation, which Spirit is encouraging you not to do, because that's not the point of this experience. The point of this experience is to be like, wow, look at that energy. It's illuminated all of this stuff for me. That's really special. That's really sacred. That's really awesome. Whether or not this be a momentary situation with somebody, or whether it comes into a new renewal, it doesn't matter, because Spirit is like, look at how much you're learning. Look at how much you're learning through this shared energy, and it may not be shared forever. Maybe it's shared right now. I mean, nobody knows when it comes to these things. Spirit decides, right? You can't predict these situations, and you can't predict like if they end either, or how they end either. You know, tower moments may end these situations, or they may not, like depending on the nature of your connection. But I'm not seeing like ill will in any way, and I'm not seeing not at all, actually, not at all. And I'm not seeing negative energy. I mean, seeing a huge amount of respect for the other, and I think that you are keeping tabs on each other. There's the Knight of Bows. Its eyes closed. Its eyes closed, but it looks like it's peeking. And then the seer is like seeing in its auricular way into 5D energy, into, you know, snippets of spirit is what I'm getting with that, you know, bits and pieces of things that let your intuition guide you with this energy is what I'm feeling to say. Let your sense of union with this person, your sense of togetherness with this person, the truth of that, the desire for that, let it guide you. Because it is like adventurous and clever, but there are these shadows that need to be worked on, the inner child's like fear of isolation or rejection or neglect or abandonment, or create those situations over again, or, you know, distraction tactics that are also impulsive or based on like instinctive fire energy. Those are temporary energies. They're not designed to last. The fire energy, that's the other thing I was going to say about the King of Bows. The King of Bows is able to maintain the fire because it is never like overfed. It is fueled steadily, and that's why the energy is so consistent with the King, whereas the Knight is learning how fire responds and reacts, and the burnout that, you know, that can happen if it's too enthusiastic or too intense too quickly, or too lacking in depth. Like, so the fire energy may be intense, but the depth may not be there. And there's a lot of aspects that there, because this person, or, you know, part of your dynamic is the management of the fire nature, which is very present. It's present in both of you. So it's strong instinctual energy. and also the governance of the mind in its most tormenting factor that has you bound, has you questioning your own knowing, your own inner knowing, because the High Priestess, she just knows. She just knows. And again, I feel I'm drawn back to the elephant now in terms of memory. You just know. Put yourself back in the position of being with this person or near to this person, and you just know. You can read the energy. So it's about trusting it. It's about trusting that. Trusting you can manage both the impulse and the self-doubt. So once those things are removed and the king and the queens emerge from those spaces, this could well be a very interesting dynamic. But again, Spirit's in charge of the time frame of this dynamic, and they expect the work to be done. Is what I'm feeling to say, because it is closing out on an old cycle, and that might not be a cycle that involves this person. I'm not sure, but I think it doesn't. It feels new here, or it feels very fresh in the energy. But this sort of background, possibly in childhood, sort of tower frequency that's going on here. There's resourcefulness here. There's endurance here. There is great strength. I think great strength in getting through the struggle, in recognizing and clearing up things in your own mind, again, without too much of the mind, but with the inner knowing and the inner instinct, because the instinct is a very powerful energy. It's essential to survival. So you need it, and it's part of the dynamic. It's important that it's part of the dynamic. So it's about coming to terms with you judging yourself or feeling or self-criticizing, or for even, I don't know, feeling criticized or judged by the other person, although I feel like that would be transference in this situation, because it's the same energy. Spirit is saying it's like you both belong to the same energy. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this. It's almost like this is where you're at. I feel like Spirit would like you to enjoy the shariness, the sharing of this energetic frequency, and recognizing its power in helping like really tie up maybe karmic situations, karmic patterns. And this is like it's a case of putting you right back into like some very potentially vulnerable spaces with yourself, and in the heart space in particular, and allowing yourself that vulnerability, allowing yourself to self-nurture in that space as well, to do what is best for you, to manage your energy in a way that serves and suits you. And there isn't there to please, or isn't there to over question, but it is there to inspire and is there to be clear for you. Yeah, I really hope that resonated, and if it did, please throw me a like, will ya? Drop me a comment, will ya? It's always lovely to read for you, and I'll read for you again soon. Bye, darlings. Hello to those of you that chose the earth and wear pot up here. Oh, this is this is interesting energy. This is really interesting energy. This is, you're going to know whether this resonates like relatively quickly, I think, because you're definitely not on the same page as this other person, is what I want to say. You're just not on the same page at all. So Spirit is highlighting the nature of this dynamic by way of its opposition, by the way of let's call it person A and person B over here, and how the energy is almost like directly contradictory, or it's very opposite in where it's coming from. And because we have opposition right at the center, and this is kind of where your energies meet for me. And it says opposite viewpoints, personal differences, communication gap, disharmony, misunderstanding, estrangement. So I don't feel that there maybe even is engagement in this space with this person, with each other, is what I'm feeling to say. But I feel to say that person A wants to engage and person B does not want to engage. It feels like person A's energy is actually like pushing for this situation, or pushing in some way energetically towards person B. And it is kind of trying to take up more room in person B's life than person B is willing to allow them to occupy, or they just don't occupy that space in person B's perception. They're just not deserving of taking up as much room as they feel like they should be taking up, or they're not being treated prominently, or they don't feel, person A doesn't feel like they're being treated on an equal footing with person B at all. Because we've got the marrying maiden up here, and this is a very interesting card. This is about choosing to be in a subordinate position, where you choose to kind of marry for desire, is the concept from the I Ching. And it's basically, the shortened version of this says wanting empowers evil, is what my book says about this card. Wanting empowers evil. And it's this desire desiring something from person B. And it feels like a prop, or it feels like support. It feels like person A wants to be seen on an equal footing to person B, but they are not, energetically speaking, they are not, because they're being symbolized as the marrying maiden. The point of that card is that it's a subordinate situation that they're in, or it's a subordinate mindset that they're in, and so they can't meet person B on an equal footing because they're subordinating themselves. And this could be like self-sabotage, for sure, or it could be a sense almost also of like presumption or entitlement, where they feel fairly arrogantly that they are deserving, and they might push the situation, or because they feel insubordinate in some way, there tends to be a desire for rivaling themselves with person B. Or, demanding of person B. And this is shocking energy to person B. Person B is shocked by the nature of this behavior, because it could come in very suddenly with person A. It could be like out of the blue, is what I'm hearing. The arousing is like a shock, a crisis, upheaval, a shake-up that's a wake-up call. And it's like in a foundational space in this reading, it's under the companionship card, and it's like the breaking or the splitting apart of the relationship, or relationships in person A's life, I want to say, because they presume a foundation that is not actually there. They're presuming that, that they can like cause a conflict or cause a drama, or without it being that person B says, oh no, I'm stepping back, I'm stepping away from this situation, I don't want this conflict, I don't want this opposition. We are never going to be on the same page about the fact that you think that I should give you more of this or more of that, or that I should be the one that props you up, or I should be the one that like helps with your self-esteem, and maybe person B has already done this and has propped this person, and their recognition in this space is about understanding that, the foundation of that can disappear at speed. So what they think might be, an equally returned energy disappears at speed the second that person A creates a drama about a situation. because the person B then suddenly thinks, well, you know what, I just don't feel the same way. And this is almost like person A, it could be a situation where person A, you know, is a friend or something, and they want person B to want them because they want person B. And they push for that, and it could be in quite a vain way. It says adornment, bring out the beauty in elegance, vanity, charisma, and self-expression. And it's the vanity energy of that's actually coming forward here. And I think if you are resonating with the energy of being like a person A, and you know, not being in a position to ask that from person B, you need to look at the fact that it's coming from a space of feeling lacking, and the feeling of lack is difficult, it's triggering. But then you can't ask person B to kind of be the person that props you up or guides you through or assist in a situation, and them not see you as in a you know, in a maybe a martyring or victimizing space, because that is the energy that you're using to get this person's attention potentially. Because I feel like on the surface you talk the talk of equality, and I'm sorry to be so hard about this, but actually if you're willing to throw it over at such high speed, or to throw a spanner in the works with this person, then you know you're not in a position to offer this person a stable foundation. Person B does not want this drama, and they may be shocked at your behavior in how you've maybe sabotaged the relationship between the two of you. Because that's what I'm getting from person B. It says pushing upwards, steady progress, gaining confidence, accepting challenges, promotion, and receiving recognition. So I feel like they're working on themselves, which is interesting. I did write down, like I went to my book and I wrote down the quote that she puts at the top of the book, or the way that she sums up these particular cards. And for pushing upwards, it says, through sincerely following the way of the sage, we attain the help of the cosmos. And you can read the sage like, you know, spirit, or the guidance that comes from spirit. And it feels like person B has thought to themselves, you know what, I've got to move myself away from this situation. And I'm getting quite a lot of resentment coming through this first energy here. And I think that's the way that they perceive person A, as being resentful or being, you know, unhappy about a situation. Whereas person B feels like it's medicinal, the sensation coming through here. It's self-care, it's self-empowerment. It's getting more confident in their decisions and in themselves. And I think a tower energy has occurred between person A and person B. And person B is feeling like it was a good thing. Like it's actually set them free from a sense of obligation, or a sense of feeling the need to provide their energy, because they are very nurturing. This is a pregnant person up here, pregnant lady, and we've got perseverance, taking care of essentials, constraints, leave well enough alone, it says, moderation and right timing. So the grace energy that is very harmonious in this card, bringing out the beauty, self-expression, genuine charisma is coming through for this waiting energy. So what did I write down for waiting? Waiting in the correct attitude empowers the creative. Yeah, that's what the book said. So you're empowered. If you're person B, and I think most of you probably will resonate with being person B, you're empowering the creative by retracting your energy from this space. This person is trying to rival themselves in some way with you, and you could be dealing with a third-party situation here as well. We have two women up here, we have two women up here, we have the marrying maiden, which, you know, in the I Ching is about the young bride going into the new home and having to be subordinate to the sort of the elder wives, and or the ones that have more experience, and having to learn and having to be of use and having to be, you know, modest and moderate and humble, words that you know, sound old-fashioned and aren't very cool these days. But this is about ethics. This is about retracting and not showing up to the fight because you just don't want to fight, is the feeling. And person B knows that it's gonna be an oppositional space, because person B is being actively encouraged by the universe not to change their position on this. And that is what they're learning from the dynamic of this situation, is to how to hold to the self and how to trust their intuitive nudges and to look after themselves. Because I feel like person A blames them for, you know, some kind of sensation of feeling shocked or feeling abandoned or feeling like they don't care or they're not important, or, and again, they may well feel all those things, but they've got to ask themselves why person B is being asked by spirit to stay away from them, to stay away from this space. There is an expression in the I Ching that always, in that book that I absolutely love, it's called The Guide to the I Ching by Carol K. Anthony, and there's one phrase that always stuck out to me, and she talks about the I Ching, and she's basically says the I Ching counsels that if the window of opportunity is closed, you don't throw yourself through it. So according to person B, there is no window of opportunity for progression here, because person A is just pushing, they just want person B to comply with their perspective, and their perspective is, you know, you should help me, or you should prop me up, or I'm less able, or I can't do X or Y, or you need to be the one that steps into the breach and handles that energy for me. You should be here for me. You should be my support structure. And that is a relationship that's built on nothing at all. There's no foundation. It serves one person and not the other. And long-term connections don't work that way. Sudden destructive energy, sudden arguments and so forth don't come into long-term workable connections, whether they be friendships or whether they be love situations. That doesn't occur. And it doesn't occur because both people mutually respect each other enough to not chuck obstacles in their own way, because they have admiration and respect. So person B won't come near if they sense this, you know, conflict space where it's about winning, or it's about, you know, person B taking accountability for what person A is refusing to take accountability for. Person A is not in an equally energetic space to person B. They cannot bring, whether they consider it their own, you know, whether they're telling themselves that or whether that is their circumstances, is irrelevant. They cannot bring the same level of equality to the space that person B is able to bring and able to offer. And that's been recognized by person B. And so why push at a closed door? That's what I'm getting. And yeah, person B should not be pushing at the closed door. The well here says, seeking truth, wisdom, insight, intuitive knowing, returning to the source and getting to the bottom of things. So I feel like person B has retracted their energy, and they have really deep dive. There's a deep dive into why they may feel the need to support, why maybe it's a sense of obligation. Again, it could be a tie, or a sense of feeling that, you know, it's the right thing to do is what I'm getting, or guilt, or they're breaking with their concepts, their previous concepts. The well is interesting because in the book it says, don't remain locked in a conventional view of the way things work. So it feels like person B is not actually that conventional, and they're beginning to appreciate more and more that, you know, not being conventional in the way that, you know, other people may expect them to be, or society puts pressure on them to be, or is actually beneficial. is actually beneficial. And also it allows the creative or the universal forces to be able to be the yang, is what I want to say about that, because in the I Ching terms, the yang forces, it belongs to like the creative space of the universe. It literally means the creative, and that is the way we kind of refer to how God behaves in the world, kind of thing. So it's almost like saying, I'm going to wait on the winds of heaven for this situation. I'm going to take care of my own stuff. I'm going to wait for right timing on a situation. I'm not closed to, being in this space of bringing harmony in this space, but I ain't going anywhere near it when I know intuitively or I via experience that person A is just wanting to enforce their own perspective on the way I see things, because that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm unwilling to give away my own perspective on things just because somebody else, person A, doesn't want me to perceive it the way that they do, because they want something that I don't want. And person A may well be involved in like a third party situation. Two women, and the marrying maiden is like multiple wives type feeling. I feel. So again, the circumstances may be that, there's other people in the picture here, or there's too much drama around that, or a person B doesn't feel like somebody who seeks out drama. In fact, I think it's very unattractive. They don't like it's the rivalry, jealousy, envy, bitterness, or maybe so maybe person A is in a. But person A, again, it feels like somebody who needs like other people in their corner to support their sense of being wronged, or to support their sense of self-righteousness, or support their lack of accountability, is also what I want to say. I'm sorry if that's, you resonate with person A and it's coming through hard. I'm sorry, but I can't edit what Spirit is saying about this. It's really strong. I think most of you, though, will be resonating with person B. Yeah, because the marrying maiden in the book, wanting empowers evil is what it says. So it's like desiring, and it might be desiring of luxuries with the grace card up here. The companionship card says, true fellowship is formed on the fellowship with the sage, i.e. the fellowship with spirit. And if you exclude spirit, there is no lasting energy. Because even with, friendships, close friendships, or there has to be this kind of soulful connective energy. It has to be that both parties feel recognized or understood or not misread. And it feels like person B feels very misunderstood, misread by person A. That person A doesn't understand why they're attracted, why they're doing what they're doing. And I don't, maybe they don't. But it's strongly codependent, this energy. It requires other people to bolster and again, maybe even big them up to be perceived as being beautiful, or being attractive, or being charismatic to person B. So it's not really bringing an authentic sense of self through. The arousing, the book says, despite the rumblings of shock, we should keep our attitude neutral or disengaged. And I don't think that's where person A is coming from. It could be like that they very suddenly caused a drama, or caused a tower moment maybe for person B. But actually what's happening now is that I feel that person A, and if there is radio silence, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was here. Person A is actually, and maybe if you're person B, this is something that's happened in the past with this person, which is why you're not talking to them, or you're choosing to disengage, or maybe you're just needing a bit of reassurance about your position, and you're not being hard, you're being fair, and you are in alignment with spirit. So stick to your guns here. It's the graceful thing to do, to retreat from this person. But I feel like, yeah, I mean, but because person A, I think they brought something about very quickly, kind of ruinously. And it's like building pies in the sky about your situation, needing, other people to be in their camp, and like thinking that, if they've got more than one person in agreement with them, they're the winner, or, they can steamroll a person B's energy, or be seen to be the one in the right. And again, that feels quite important for person A, but person B I don't think they really care about that. This kind of recognition is about the self, and following, gaining assistance from the cosmos because you're doing what is right by you. You're in a nurturing space. But interestingly, this grace card in the book, it says self-important intervention. And I think that actually is kind of a binding lesson for both of these people. I think person A has tried to self-importantly intervene in a way that demands respect, or demands equal footing, or demands a reciprocity to the way they feel from person B. But I think person B has maybe self-importantly intervened in a way that assists or helps or props up this person because it makes them feel good to, offer support or nurturance, or again with that slight rescuing energy which they maybe be looking at or needing to look at, and I feel like they are doing the work because there's deep dive energy going on over here. They're getting in touch with their intuition. This is water in this element. They're really going into the deep space here, person B. Really, doing the work. And it feels, without the support maybe of other people, pushing through regardless. And they know that you've got to wait on the winds of heaven for heaven to take control with the waiting energy. That when she is pregnant, there is a time frame. The baby comes when it's ready to come, kind of thing. You only intervene in that energy if you absolutely have to. And again, I feel like maybe person B is learning a lesson here. And I am seeing another hexagram in my mind, which is called Youthful Follies. It's almost like person B is learning. I feel like person B might be learning something they haven't really taken on board before about their participation in this energy. It may be a case of not saying no has been a problem here. Not saying no when no was required, and instead of being compliant or going along with something, or maybe not being abundantly clear when they needed to be clear. I'm not altogether sure. Again, out of politeness or out of respect for what person A had going on, which feels like perpetually dramatic. And I feel like with person A as well, they have experienced the breakdown in maybe multiple relationships because they are willing to pull the rug at high speed in order to maneuver or rival. And that is very off-putting, and relationships can't survive that. Nobody in an actual workable, long-term or, trustful situation will pull the rug for no reason. There's always a reason, and the reason is person A does not feel like they're insecure. They know they're in a subordinate position, but this is self-important intervention. Like I say, they try and be more important, more than equal, potentially, as well. And they're pushing the energy. It pushes the energy, and when the energy is pushed, it breaks. And it feels like spiritual intervention. Spirit has broken this situation because they're not going to have person B drained by this. I feel like this is very beneficial tower for person B, for For person B, this may have been a shock. For you, if you're person B, it may have been a shock. This person may have, sabotaged a relationship, or you're shocked that you thought it was, on an equal footing, and suddenly that it wasn't. But you can't really be surprised, is what Spirit's saying. You can't really be surprised at this situation. Do hold your position, but if you've engaged in a way that, has intervened in a situation, even if you're trying to be helpful, even if you're trying to be nurturing, even if you're trying to encourage this person to, follow your example, you cannot push the window when there is no opportunity. Like, you can't go through a closed window. And you know that, and I think you're like, okay, well, there's only one thing I can do, which is turn away and work on myself. But this person A, they want to be able to come in and act like everything, you should talk about it, you should both be adults about it, but in truth, they're just not on the same page. That's not why they're coming in. And if you're person A and you're saying that, but you feel bitter, you feel upset, or you feel you've got a few things that you want to say, or that you feel that this person owes you because your situation is worse off in some way, shape or form, Spirit is like saying, no, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. And you could be dealing with a breaking apart, a shock in your own space. And it could be to do with person B leaving, and that's shocking to you because you've told yourself that you're on equal footing, or them not reciprocating your feelings, or not, being the loser in some way, shape or form, or the third wheel or whatever. Maybe then you need to look at why you're asking to be rescued, why you're asking for person B to step in to the breach and remove you from this situation and give you all this ease and luxury and comply with what you're saying, why you need them to believe what you believe. You don't need to push this. You really don't. You don't need to push this. And person B, you are taking to heart the lessons here, and that is very, very good. But this is oppositional energy. And I feel that, you have strong faith in Spirit, that creative force, the help from the cosmos, all of that. It's faith energy. Person A does not have or share that energy. This is not a spiritual use of your spiritual energy. And so if you are tempted to engage with this person, or you are tempted to put yourself in opposition to them, or try and teach them via engagement, then you really, again, you have not done enough work on what ties you out of obligation to this person when there is no foundation and they're capable of shocking the hell out of you. But take heart here from the support that you have from Spirit. And this is the lesson, to grow away from this space, to grow away and out of your own maybe lack of self-belief, your lack of empowerment, or your ability to thrive without this situation or this scenario. Your ability to be unconventional in your thinking is also what's coming through. Again, that strong Aquarian energy is coming through to me now. This person, I feel there's strong judgment, and I'm seeing the judgment card in person A's energy. And maybe you've come to terms with the fact that you are not willing to engage with this person because you have made a judgment call, is what I'm getting from that. And I feel like this person is under some kind of spiritual judgment here. This is Tower energy. It does feel very much like I'm hearing, hear ye, hear ye. So like town crier energy. So there could be some obvious or visible or public sort of judgment of this person that could be happening as well. But yeah, it's the angel like unwrapping the scroll. I'm hearing it's the end of the world as we know it. So yeah, it feels very apocalyptic, karmic energy here. And I do think this has been some kind of karmic lesson here with this person that has gone on, and that this person very much fulfilling the role of the karmic to person B at this point in time. But person B is, you know, growing at speed, deep diving. Spirit's very proud of person B in the way that they've kept this steady, they've kept this rolling, they've kept themselves in, they've been focusing on their self-nurture. There is a new beginning coming, person B. There is a new beginning coming, the pregnancy. And I feel like as well, if you're person B, you're able to birth things into a new space, birth things into new form, and just keep working onwards. And if you thought that this was, you know, going to be something long term with person A, then Spirit is saying, you know, we're sorry for the disappointment, we're sorry if this has been a difficult lesson, but it's something that you needed really to take to heart or to learn, or you needed to lose this person before you could embrace your new beginning, or you need to be walking away from this person. I'm seeing the 8 of Cups now, to embrace the new beginning, because it's not fulfilling emotionally. It doesn't give you any equal give and take, and you deserve the equality reciprocated. Again, it's a lesson for you to deserve it if you're person B, and person A for you to recognize you are not owed it. So yeah, that's what I'm getting from this, and I really hope it resonated. If it did, drop me a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all the things. Lovely to resonate with you as stack 2. Oh, it's been juicy. I'll read for you again. Bye. Hello, my lovelies who chose the colourful pot here. Ooh, this ain't easy. I'm not gonna lie. This ain't easy energy to read. This is highly karmic, and I'm kind of hoping that you're asking about a past situation, a past relationship that's already over and done with, and that you're kind of moving out of. Although I feel like for some of you this is pretty fresh, this energy, and something has come to a very messy ending here, because this is the combination of your energies up here, and we've got rebirth, which is the 10 of Swords, and then breakthrough, which is justice in this particular deck. So there is a breaking of the karma, there's a breaking of the karmic tie, but it could feel very painful, very messy. Both parties could feel somehow betrayed in this situation. Both parties could feel very hurt, injured, up in their heads with this situation as well. Neither party feels like they're particularly inclined to compromise, even though the compromise card is up here. It's the meaning of that card in this deck is talking about compromising yourself. So I'm kind of reading person A over here on the left, person B on the right. I'm not quite sure which energy you're in, but either way, there's going to be some like sort of strong shadow messages from Spirit coming through here, that either you're kind of, you know, at the tail end of kind of concluding and that you've been working on, or that Spirit really is trying to draw attention to you for you to focus on in this part of the process in order to move through this ending as swiftly as possible and get yourself out of that torturous space that is the 10 of Swords. So person A Person A is very romantic, very dreamy, very has this ideal version of what a relationship should look like, and it's so over romanticized, especially in connection to the Seven of Swords here, which in this deck is called politics. And it feels like they're not willing to compromise on an unrealistic perspective of how relationships work in the real world. They have this kind of idealized version of things, but it's not grounded. It doesn't sit in a grounded space. It actually sits in a very self-indulgent emotional space, because this card says laziness here. And that is the Nine of Cups, which is the wish fulfillment card in most decks. But here, it equates the Buddhist concept of not doing, the non-doing, alongside just choosing to be inactive. And they're not the same thing. So it may be that person A thinks that they're receptive in a spiritual sense, but it's just that they're not putting in anything they're not bringing anything to the party. What they feel like they bring to this situation is themselves as a romantic ideal. So it may be that person A considers themselves like a great catch, very attractive, clever, and they are able to say all the right things, but it's very deceptive energy, the Seven of Swords, and it's very deceptive, this particular card, and the self-deception here is like, it's pretty colossal. It's colossal to the point of, they expect to be waited on, they expect to receive things, and it could be like monetary or gifts, or that person B put in all the effort, and that they're supposed to sit and receive. I want to say, whether this person is masculine or feminine, that this is like, for me, quite toxic feminine energy. This is, sitting around in the castle waiting for the prince to come and expecting happy ever after the moment that occurs, instead of actually recognizing that the beginning of a relationship is the beginning of the work that you put into the relationship. So I feel like there's been a lot of expectation of their treatment, or the way that they should be allowed to sit around potentially, or the way that they should allow their dreams to be the foundation. And neither of these cards are bringing through stability. I mean, laziness and getting into the habit of no habit at all. And then the political maneuvering of this particular Seven of Swords, which is basically a mask that says, well, I feel like person A is maybe flattering of person B, maybe like invests emotionally in that way, or expresses themselves emotionally in that way, whether they actually really feel that or not, I question that. I think it's self-deceptive. I'm not like feeling love here. I'm feeling this is how things should look, and it's important that they look a particular way, and it's important that I'm perceived to be, sweet and romantic, and an ideal mate for person B, or an ideal that person B should worship, because I am deserving of all of these great things. But underneath, like, potentially deceptive, potentially unfaithful, potentially just not authentic, or not telling the truth, or it's very slippery energy, because I just don't think that person A has really got a handle on what their problem is, because they're still dreamily gazing into the distance, expecting, they're not prepared to compromise on a very unrealistic concept of a romantic relationship. They just want to make it fit, and it feels like they want to make person B fit into this like romantic equation here. And again, I'm sorry if this comes through hard, and we've all been here. We've all been in karmic situations, so it's not like I can't relate to all of this for either side, for example. So just take what Spirit is saying. If it feels like it's resonating with you, that might be really useful for you in terms of your shadow work here. Part of the purpose of this dynamic is to learn to be authentic, is to learn to care less how the outside world is perceiving success or your success in this situation, or, you know, whether you're someone to be celebrated or not, and whether you're person A or person B, it doesn't matter. Like, these things apply overall in terms of your dynamic. The Ten of Swords up here connecting this energy is a brutal, messy conclusion, and I feel like things have, you know, or are in the space of like explosive, conclusionary, messy, painful, difficult, tangled. I'm seeing twine, like tangled energy, and you know, when twine is that badly tangled, you just got to cut it. You got to compromise. You can't be untying every single knot. You've got, at some stage, you've got to draw a line in the sand and be like, do you know what? Here's where the buck stops. And I feel like that might be a lesson for person B here, because we have Queen of Wands in reverse. And when the Queen of Wands is upright, she's bloody amazing at the line in the sand. She's like, let's put it here, don't go beyond here. So, I mean, person B, maybe they can't over-compromise, but there has to be some compromise in this space, because, and it feels like they're really not up for sharing. They're really not in the sharing energy with person A. They may be like, no, I'm not sharing anything, I'm not giving anything more to this situation. But this is to do with boundaries being an issue, or the fire force being imbalanced here, because the Queen of Wands reverse can be very volatile, and with the intensity of the Knight of Wands down here, suddenly volatile, and may even be physical, or break things, or throw things, or it's at the very least there could be some like savage words thrown in this situation. And it's very passionate energy, which is great in the upright and very charismatic, very sexy. But it may be that like person B is like, I don't want to do that anymore with person A, which is it's understandable. Or it may be that they're just suppressing the energy, because fire force suppressed just builds up and builds up, and then you can have this explosive moment, or this like lava flow is what I'm getting with this, with the water and the fire, the lava. It's like the volcanic eruption, and it's just a devastating ending. But I feel like person B needs to come to terms with the fact that they've compromised themselves. And they may have compromised their boundaries, they may have compromised their ethics, they may have compromised, they may have lost their temper, for sure. I think person B is very angry with person A. And again, because person A could have been very deceptive, could have lied, could have cheated, any of those things. But I feel the betrayal it feels on both sides. I think, you know, if person A comes to terms with the fact that they've betrayed themselves, they could break this karma just, you know, very quickly, very swiftly, and or fess up to having not been authentic, or recognize that they just haven't put the effort in and they've expected far too much for like no proper foundation here. Person B feels like stubborn, it's kind of unwilling to compromise. Because I feel like there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of blame, but actually what Spirit is saying is that there needs to be flex, because person B has compromised themselves in involving in this situation in the first place, or jumping in physically at speed potentially with this person against maybe their better judgment, or letting their boundaries slide because they've over compromised in a situation of they've been the one that has done the sharing, or pouring in. It could be to the situation, and now that is retracted, it is withdrawn. So the fire element feels for person B that it needs to be worked on, that the positive relationship with fire, the negative relationship with fire, because they feel like naturally very passionate, or very instinctual, very driven, or and person A feels naturally very, romantic. This could be a person from the past. This could be somebody who's come around again, like an ex or something like that. There's this kind of familiar energy with the dream over here. Again, that could just be like the soul connective space of karmic relationships, or just soulmate relationships in general. But something, has gone down, and maybe person B has initiated it with the knight, like flying towards this. And it's almost like, I need justice, or I need, it's pushing for justice, and you can't push justice because justice belongs to herself. Is the sense that this is the justice, is what Spirit is saying. This is it. Even if you feel like you've been unfairly treated, this is perfectly in accordance with the energy that you have involved yourself in, because both parties have bought into maybe a concept of being able to kick back and take things easy, or feeling like goods or worldly success was somehow the be all and end all, or that because there was strong sexual chemistry or strong sexual attraction, or that you clicked, that then it was bound to be long term, or it was bound to work out, or it was bound to not end in carnage, but it has. This card's quite interesting, this 10 of Swords, because the rebirth energy here is expressed quite differently to other tarot decks. And we've got the camel down here, and then the lion, and then the child. And this is based on a Nietzsche book. Thus Spake Zarathustra, I think it was. Okay. So the camel, anyway, represents like the dulled, sleepy, unaware nature of the space. And I feel like both parties have not really wanted to look at the reality of this situation, or how it works in the earth energy. This is the Six of Coins up here, and the way that the Six of Coins is about give and take. It's about, in this deck, it's about compromising yourself and kind of selling yourself short. So buying what person A was selling, person B's bought what person A is selling. But I feel like it's again about person B recognizing what is fair to input and what is not fair to input. And if they've not treated themselves fairly, or they've not demanded equality of input in this situation, then Spirit is saying they've only got themselves to blame in terms of the repercussions. And maybe this is a very strong lesson in not compromising the boundaries of what you're prepared to put in and what you're not prepared to put in, because person B could be feeling, burnout, or burnt, very badly burnt by this situation, very angry about this situation. So the lion is the space in which we come into roar. And that says that then you're no longer acquiescing to the demands of others. And I feel again that is much more in person B's camp, saying, absolutely not. I am refusing now to share my energy. That's it. It's game over. I'm finished. But there's still so much input of energy, intense input of energy, with the knight down here, which is more volatile in many ways than the queen. Active and driven and motivated though, and it is right aspected. So it's creative in its approach to breaking this karmic space, breaking the karmic tie. And the Nine of Cups, it also desires a breakthrough, but I'm not convinced that person A doesn't want to stay in this scenario. It doesn't want to keep maneuvering, because I feel like person A is very scared about losing position or losing significance or losing importance or losing control, or losing control of the narrative is also what I feel to say about person A here. And but this child energy that comes out is the kind of innocence and the wonder and the dynamism and the being in the moment and the being in the now, represented. I feel like it's in the lion force currently with person B, that there's this expression of, you know, roaring energy that says, I absolutely refuse to compromise. I am not going to share. I'm not willing to participate in this anymore. This is great energy, because again, I feel like it's being activated more on person B's side than person A. Person B feels more motivated to break this, to break the karmic cycle, to not go round again in this situation. Even though person A may feel betrayed, and it feels more like that they feel that their ambitions have been betrayed, or their dreams have been betrayed, or their hopes for, you know, how they are going to be perceived maybe as a couple or in the world have been betrayed. Whereas person B feels the betrayal feels really like it's hit the emotional space, and that is being channeled and funneled through fire energy, which is fine. Spirit's like, use the fire energy to motivate, to get the motor running, head out on the highway. To get out of this dynamic, this situation. I feel like it's almost the representation of the snake in the Garden of Eden, offering the fruit, and the fruit being something tangible or physical, or it being a dream or an illusion that has been brought into by both parties. And if both parties are being honest, they have also brought into self-deception, which is the root of deception. They have had a karmic contract. It does feel very soul connected, and so they're very past life related, is the sensation that I'm getting. Person A needs to work on their realism. They need to work on being authentic. They need to work on actually putting in effort to a situation. You can't just sit around and expect return and be emotionally manipulative. None of those things are long-term viable. Person B needs to work on their temper, and they need to work on their boundaries. They need to work on not being willing to compromise their ethical space just for maybe gratification, or just because things again look like they should work. This is energy that needs to be seen for what it is, which is superficial energy. And this is the result of superficial energy that both people are pretending is more than it is. And yes, it may be impactful, and yes, it may not feel superficial, and it certainly isn't superficial on a spiritual level. The lessons are not superficial, but the depth of the connection here is really lacking. There's a complete mismatch in the energy. I just don't think that you trust each other. I just don't think that it's a safe space at all for anyone here. I think that it is fair from a spiritual perspective. They say like this, it needs to be this way to break through to the rebirth of the child energy. Knowing that you're not going to compromise the things that can't be compromised for spirit's sake is what I'm hearing. And that you are willing to flex on the things that need to be flexed on. Because what I'm hearing is the red shoes. Spirit is saying the red shoes. So the story of the red shoes is about a pauper girl who makes red shoes from little scraps of material that she finds on the floor. And when she's finished her shoes, they are her pride and joy because of all the effort, because of the creativity, because they belong to her. And this is somebody who has very little, right? So they are special. Then a rich lady comes along and offers her a home, a safe space, trappings, wealth, comfort, ease, all of these things. But she has to compromise. And what she has to compromise on is that she's not allowed to take the shoes because red is considered the colour of sin, right? According to this old lady. So she agrees, and the old lady takes her back and she has all her needs met. And she becomes obsessed with red shoes because they suddenly start to represent something different. They start to represent the freedom, the creativity, and her ability to express herself authentically, right? So she falls prey to somebody selling red shoes for all the wrong reasons, a politician, if you will. She buys the red shoes, and as everybody knows, she puts them on and she cannot stop dancing. And she dances and dances and dances to the point of near exhaustion and complete burnout on her own grave, is the way the story goes. And most original fairy tales are brutal as hell, right? But it's highly significant that they are that brutal. So she's dancing on her grave, and the only way that she can stop is by cutting her own feet off. There's a massive sacrifice that she has to make in order to save her skin. And I do feel like Spirit is saying a sacrifice needs to be made in this situation in order to speed removal of the energy from this space, in order to get out, in order to conclude a very inconclusive conclusion with the Ten of Swords. To gift that to the self is what's required. So even if there's like a non-budging, a non-wanting to compromise, not wanting to compromise at all, and again there could be pride elements involved in that, anything that is like negatively aspected fire needs to be looked at by person B here. But I do feel like, again, this could be a shared energy. It's very stubborn, but now is the time to make a sacrifice, is what you have to compromise in order to extrapolate, or maybe get, maybe legally even, could be the nature of this situation for some people here. This is kind of like messy divorce energy is what I'm picking up from this. So going back to the red shoes, one of the things about that story is about how significant it is in terms of addictive energy. And addictive energy is part and parcel of karmic relationships. And that's what keeps us coming round, and often those relationships are on and off, stop and start, and this could be like the second time round with an ex or whatever. There's some kind of past connection potentially with this person here, but it feels it's about how we can get addicted to something that looks like something from the past that felt different. So the original shoes are because she created them, because they're expressing who she is as a person, and there is this sort of love associated with that space. You can't mimic that space with something or someone that looks like they should fit the bill, but actually is kind of a shadow or a shade of a former concept or a former love relationship, or something that you're looking for, something that belonged to someone else in a new person or whatever. It could be any of those things, but the energy of addiction is significant to that story, and I do feel that is valid to mention here. To create from one's own creative space, and person B, I feel like, has huge creative energy here. The Queen of Wands is immensely creative energy, vibrant, outgoing, arty, expressive by nature. And I don't like to see her in reverse, though. It feels dangerous or suppressed, or losing sight of what boundaries. I mean, she's so confident that her boundaries are just there. When people are confident and authentic, they tend not to be challenged. And they tend not to be challenged because there's going to be a kickback. You stand on the tail of the tiger, and the tiger doth roar. And I feel like there has been like a roaring or a reminding of where the boundaries are. But again, she don't need to shout about it, because they are literally implicit in her energy. So this is about like integrating the energy of the queen, almost to a point where it speaks before you enter the room, that you don't get fucked with, is the feeling. Part B, person B, needs to look at why they were so willing to buy into the falsity of this concept being carried by person A here, that really they've been emotionally manipulated, emotionally maneuvered by a very fearful person. And again, person A, like some serious work needs to be done on the authentic self and the effort required. You can't live on a delusion, a romantic delusion, a romantic fantasy, and try and make it fit when things are not going well, present that they are, and it be very significant to person A how they are perceived, particularly by person B. They want to be wanted, they need to be. I mean, everybody wants to be wanted, right? But this is like a neediness. And again, codependency is a big factor in karmic relationships. So, yeah. And the codependent energy for part B is to do with needing to comply, or needing to be the one that compromises, or flexes around person A because you don't want maybe the emotional repercussions. Maybe person A is very good at crying when required, or manipulating the situation to be about them. When person B tries to express their space, person A manages to get it to be all about them. Is the feeling going on here. But I think this is being worked on. I mean, and it is there is a breakthrough. There has been a massive breakthrough, and I feel like the rebirth is in motion because of this breakthrough, and you're coming to terms of filtering out the shared energy, or the willingness to participate in like superficial energy, the willingness to perceive success as something that doesn't belong to spirit, that somehow belongs to the external world instead of to the soul and to the heart space, and not to compromise on that. Again, there's certain things here that spirit is saying the lesson is never to compromise on certain things, and to know how to compromise in other ways, and still be able to tap the generous, like warm nature of the Queen of Wands, even in dealing with this person, no matter how betrayed or upset that person B might feel with this person. That's the strength, is the Queen of Wands in upright, is her generous nature, is her ability to say, okay, fine, here's the line in the sand, as long or you take more than me, or that's fine, as long as you freaking leave or get out or end this situation, as long as I can move through this space of difficulty or pain or torture, and again shared lesson, and know when to call it a day. Otherwise spirit brings, and again I feel this karma card is like spirit has brought it down, like this justice card is tower energy as well, right? Spirit has brought it down because they're enforcing a closure. That, like, it's gone right to the wire. It's gone past the wire for person B, and that's the problem. It's really breached a boundary for person B. And I'm not sure, I mean, I think person A is feeling the repercussions of this. Things are shattered, but again, I feel what's shattered maybe their illusion, or maybe their sense of self-importance, or maybe, they're unwilling. My feeling is they're unwilling to look at this, particularly because they don't want to be seen in these deceptive terms, but they've got to be honest with themselves if they're ever gonna elevate from and actually gain some motivation, because I feel like they are also very unmotivated. The energy is very person B is motivated, but not necessarily positively. Person A is totally unmotivated, and it's all tied up in fear and insecurity, and it's very childlike energy. It's very childlike energy. So yeah, I think that's all I've got for you. I really hope it helped in some way, shape or form. This isn't comfortable. This isn't easy, but hell, everybody's been there at some stage or another. You will get through the difficulty and the pain of this situation. And I feel like, you're lighting up. Look at the solar plexus is all lit up in this situation. So the way that you feel about it is coming forward in full force. The way that you truly feel about it, which really assists authenticity, which really helps you acknowledge where you are. And it's okay to acknowledge difficult or bitter or angry feelings, or it's important to go into those spaces and to really look at those spaces, and to not be afraid to look at those spaces, because that is the whole spiritual reason of why this is such a significant energy. Again, it drills down into the areas that need healing, but healing cannot occur if this is perpetrated. It just causes more wounding, more damage, more volatility, more lying, more... You get the picture. Anyway, lovely to have you on the channel. Please whack the like button. Drop me a comment. Super awesome to hear from you, and take care, my darlings. Bye.